Hi, I'm Foon and I write the website hustlecastle.site. We just had a new game mode, Lighthouse, added to the game. This video is going to walk through that new feature from attacks to elixirs, enhancements, and even the new attributes. There's a fair amount of new stuff to cover even at a high level, but I'll also go into some smaller details and things that are not immediately obvious. Let's get started. Here on the main PvP map, the lighthouse was just added. We open it and this is what it looks like. On the top here you have your energy. These are your attacks. They refill 1 every 20 minutes and you cap out at 5. So to not waste any, you need to be coming back here every hour and 40 minutes. Obviously, no one is coming back to the game that frequently day and night, so some energy will be wasted, and that's fine because that's what it will be like for everyone. This rewards people who are in the game more frequently during the day, and if that's not you, it's understandable that you won't like that, but that is me, so I like it. You can also buy an energy for 6 diamonds. I bought 2 yesterday just to see if the price increased, and those 2 and the third after were all still the 6 diamond price. So I feel pretty confident saying that the 6 diamonds price is fixed at that. Note that buying an energy resets the 20-minute timer, so if you know you're going to buy more than one, then buy them all at once, obviously not more than 4 at once, so your timer for the free one can start ticking down while you use those attacks. You use your attacks, aka energy, to fight these PvP opponents. If you lose, you might get offered to watch that Apple recovery ad. Right now, I'm hearing both that sometimes the ad gives back the energy and sometimes it does not. That inconsistency will presumably be ironed out in an update, but for now, shrug emoji. Decide for yourself if you want to risk it. Fighting battles here will set your historical power. And just to explain that very quickly, at any time in any battle, your squad has a certain squad power. Your highest ever squad power gets set as your historical power in various game modes, including raiding, arena, invasion, but not in everything. For example, clan territory bosses do not set your historical power. It has been confirmed that fighting here will set your historical power. You can see your historical power in your profile. Moving on. As you can see, each of these opponents will give me this listed amount of lanterns as a reward. Now, this is cool. These numbers are based on my squad power, not historical power. So remember these numbers. I'm going to take 2 fighters out of my barracks to lower my power, and they will be higher. Cool, right? Okay, so you have 5 opponents here. I'm going to call this a set of 5. You get a lantern bonus for beating 3 or all 5 out of the same set of 5. This doesn't have to be consecutive wins. You can lose a battle in the middle. The count doesn't reset after a loss. It resets when you refresh the set of 5. So that brings up a bit of strategy. The button to refresh the set of 5 resets every 15 minutes. For those of you who are good at math, you will have already realized that 15 is less than the 100 minutes it takes to refill your 5 energy. So we can use this button a few times for free. Now, the bonus for clearing all 5 is substantial. It's 50 lanterns. But if you look at your strongest opponent and know you're not going to beat them, then maybe you want to just take the weakest 3, maybe even with a nerf down squad so you get a few extra lanterns, and then reset the set of 5. Or if you can normally beat all 5, but you see one really tough opponent, you can reset this whole set of 5 without fighting any of them. Let's move on to why we even want lanterns. The lanterns move you along a challenge event or pirate pass style reward path. The rewards are all chests of elixirs. I'm TR 11, so mine are all blue and purple chests. Lower TRs have smaller chests, like TR 6 I believe is all green and blue chests. This resets every day at the same time as clan territory reset. So another bit of strategy. If you are about to go to bed or just reset is coming, and you are close to the next chest, then maybe it's worth buying some energy to reach that next level. Energy are only 6 diamonds after all. It is a bit annoying that this resets every day, so every day any lanterns that are between one level and the next are lost. The good thing is that the game will mail you your rewards if you forget to collect them. I left some yesterday on purpose to show them in my mailbox now. I think that's nice, so I don't have to worry too much about checking this last thing before bed. Back to these chests of elixirs. You have to actually open the chests. I'll open one now. The elixirs are each for a specific attribute like dodge or spell power, and they come in the usual gray, green, etc. varieties. Once the chest is open, the elixirs go into inventory, but that's not where we use them. We're going to use them on a fighter. Open any dweller and you'll see the hangar button moved over to the right, and this big development button is on the left. This brings us to the enhancement screen. There's also the second tab specializations, but this is coming later. So to summarize this whole lighthouse feature, we wait for our energy to refill, to beat PvP opponents, to earn lanterns, which earn us chests of elixirs, and then here we can use the elixirs to enhance our fighters. These enhancements are very similar to gems, but rather than enhance our gear, these enhance the fighter themselves. Which brings up a good point about which fighters to enhance. If this feature came out before talents, then I would say just pick the fighter whose face you like the best, or pick the fastest runner for the old San Transarm fans who raced their fighters naked back before talents made run speed meaningless. However, if its and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. Talents are a part of the game now, so you don't want to enhance a fighter who might not stay in your main squad, at least not early on. You want to use your elixirs on a fighter who has an orange talent and who is part of an alliance that you think you'll be keeping for quite some time. Now, I have exactly one fighter who meets those two requirements. My EOL and my Undercover of Night Alliance has an orange assassin talent, so I'm only using elixirs on her, and I'm using exactly 10 each day, and I'll show you why. There's a new daily quest to use 10 elixirs. Not everyone has this yet, but surely everyone will have it soon. The new quest is called Combat Strength, and they also changed the Jack of all trades daily quest. It used to be to complete 5 out of 6 non-ad watching quests. Now, yesterday, it was to complete 7 out of 7 non-ad watching quests for me and like half my clan, and not for the other half. However, today, it's obviously different since I somehow already collected it without meaning to. Anyway, I really want to be able to get that elixir quest done every day because I may need it for the Jack of all trades quest, which is really substantial for getting the daily quest chests, which are quite important. And at the same time, as I was saying, there's really only one fighter who I want to enhance right now, my EOL. And I don't want to give my EOL spell power or even crit or damage. I want to give my EOL health and armor. And I don't know if I'll get 10 of those types of elixirs every day. So far, it looks like it's very close. So I'll do my 10 elixirs for this daily quest and then stop. And that is what I would recommend for anyone else like me who hasn't been buying too many tombs and doesn't have many orange talents yet. In that situation, our situation, I would say use the minimum and save the rest of the elixirs for when our talents are better. If you have more orange talents and your alliance are pretty set, then this advice doesn't apply to you. Just use the usual prudence of enhancing attributes that make sense for that type of fighter. Let's go back to the enhancement screen and look closer at using elixirs. Here you have a list of all the attributes. Click one and you see the available elixirs. You need mana to consume an elixir, and then it gives the fighter a bonus for that attribute. Like a gem, this is a direct increase for a particular attribute stat. It's permanent and attached to this fighter. It's not transferable once applied, and interestingly, these increases to stats do not seem to increase squad power and by consequence increase historical power. On Hustle Prime, this was theorized to be a bug that would be fixed. Now that we're 2 days in, it's harder to guess what they will do. If they make these add to squad power now, people who make an effort to keep their squad power low will be angry. On the other hand, it's sort of crazy for these not to increase power. And how much do the game developers care about people who purposely keep their historical power low to manipulate the difficulty of the game? Also, how would it even work? Would adding spell power increase the power of a fighter who is an archer? Basically, right now, these do not add to historical power, but there is speculation about if that could change. Hopping over to hustlecastle.site, in the hours after the feature was released, I assembled this Lighthouse guide. I love the rush of trying to figure out as much as possible about a new game feature with my clan and on Hustle Prime. So next time that there is something new, you can check here and probably really quickly there will be a new page with everything I was able to find out. It takes more time to make a video. Also, I wouldn't want to make a video too early because unlike a web page, there's no editing it later. Anyway, the reason I brought you here I have a chart with how much bonus each elixir has, and further up another chart with the mana cost. Other players, specifically Chico and Mikosobi, helped me put this together really fast, and then Dent Wessam and Satana got the missing red info from VK, I believe. Now, you might notice these numbers are pretty small. It's going to take some time to really power up fighters with elixirs. There is a maximum that can be enhanced. That maximum goes up with the fighter training level of the Dweller. Mathemath from Hustlepedia has started collecting the limits for lower fighter training levels. At this time, I've only seen guesses for what the limits will be for level 100 fighters. Back to the game. Just like gems, some fighters benefit from some attributes more than others. For example, spell power, magic damage are both useless, literally make no difference on a non-mage. Magic damage and damage do not convert. They just do nothing if not on the right class of fighter. If you want to know more about damage, I have a video as well as a written guide that I'll link to in the description. It was my very first video, actually. Crit technically enhances crit on any fighter. However, you really only want crit on a fighter with a crossbow or spear. For the TR11 folks, that's Dragonborn, Legionnaire, Nameless King, or Bane. Actually, Dragonborn and Legionnaire can benefit from any non-mage attribute because they're both doing damage and they both need to stay alive. The tanky tank fighter, for me, my EOL, her job is to absorb damage and stay alive. So I'm giving her health and armor first, and then dodge and fortitude after that. For mages, spell power is useful for most of them, especially your Dino 1 Incinerator, and magic damage is not very useful, but also doesn't hurt. There are 4 new attributes here. These are anti-attributes that negate a portion of the opponent's stats. Specifically, accuracy reduces the chance of an enemy fighter dodging an attack. Fortitude reduces the chance of an enemy fighter dealing critical damage. Pierce reduces the effectiveness of the target's physical armor. Magic Pierce reduces the effectiveness of the target's magical armor. And I will quote what the official community rep said about these. New attributes, which can be enhanced with elixirs just like any other attribute, have been added to the game. In the future, these attributes will also appear on items, including new items that will require a new socket and have a unique enhancement system. Expect the new items in a future update. Now, what else do we know? Nothing. We have really good info about how armor and crit are calculated, but those formulas were taken out of the game code years ago when Hustle Castle didn't obfuscate the code. And on a related note, I have a video of armor half written, so subscribe to my channel and see that when it comes out. The point being, it's going to be really hard to figure out how these new attributes work. It's going to take really hard testing with very deliberate setups, recorded at half speed, and then studied frame by frame. And then once we have those numbers, and I'm using we pretty generously here, meaning the community as a whole, then we can try to reverse engineer the formula, but still only if it's a simple formula. The formula for armor uses an array of constants based on the attacker as well as the target's fighter training level. It would take a real lot of test data to have enough numbers to reverse engineer that formula. So here's hoping it's a simple formula, and here's hoping that someone has the patience to try, because I know I'm not up for that challenge. So for now, we just know that these attributes negate the target's respective attributes, and that will have to be enough for now. In terms of strategy, you're going to want Pierce and Accuracy on your damage dealers, the same Legionnaire and Dragonborn that are good fits for all the non-mage attributes. Now, a Bane's 2 out of 6 ability is switching targets, so if you loaded these anti-attributes on your Bane, could you weaken your whole opponent's squad? I think probably not. I would guess that Bane's Pierce only weakens the effect of the target's armor for Bane's attacks, rather than any attacks on that target. But again, we don't know yet. This is all brand new. If you're watching this well after March 2022, maybe check hustlecastle.site for info on these new attributes. Hopefully we know more in the future. So I think that's basically everything. New game mode, Lighthouse, new dust-like material, Elixirs, and a new way to strengthen our squads, Enhancements. I'm really liking this new feature. It's certainly more interesting than journeys. It's going to take time for enhancements to have a noticeable effect on my squad, but it's a clear path to get there. I like this more than talents, which have so much randomness and don't build on the progress you've already made. So I'm excited to add this new area of the game to my routine of opening and checking on my castle. Well, thanks for watching. Happy grinding.